Good morning, children. Welcome back. Hope you all are fine. In the previous classes, we studied about the features of Indian Constitution. We studied about the fundamental rights and fundamental duties. In today's class, we study about the formation of Indian Constitution. In 1946, Cabinet Mission visited India. It was one of the most important suggestions of the Cabinet Mission that a Constituent Assembly should be formed and that Constituent Assembly would draft a constitution for India. Accordingly, elections to the Constituent Assembly was held in 1946 July. Members of the provincial legislative assemblies sent their representatives to the Constituent Assembly. In India, a large number of princely states were there. Princely states means the kingdoms which were ruled by the kings, and those principalities or those kingdoms were called as princely states. The kings of these princely states nominated their representatives to the Constituent Assembly. Thus, altogether, the Constituent Assembly had 385 members. Out of this 385, 292 were elected by the provincial legislative assemblies, and the remaining 93 were nominated by the princely states. The Indian Constitution was one of the biggest constitutions in the world. It was not an easy task to frame the constitution. It took a large number of days and the work of a very large number of people to frame the constitution. Already I told you that it was the Constituent Assembly that took the responsibility of framing a constitution for India. The first meeting of the Constituent Assembly was held on December 9, 1946. The members of the Constituent Assembly assembled at the central hall of the present Parliament, and the meeting was chaired by Sachidananda Sinha. Sachidananda Sinha was the oldest member of the Constituent Assembly. On December 11, Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected as the President of the Constituent Assembly. We have already seen that the Constituent Assembly consisted of 385 members. Among these 385, there were representatives of Muslim League too. But when the meeting was in progress, Muslim League boycotted the Constituent Assembly. They claimed that they wanted to have a separate nation of their own. Thus, the Muslim League members of the Constituent Assembly withdrew from it. Thus, the number reduced from 385 to 299. And later, the remaining members or the members belonged to the Muslim League. They were given the task of making another constitution exclusively for Pakistan. After the withdrawal of Muslim League from the Constituent Assembly, the number reduced from 385 to 299. Of these, 284 members were presented on November 26, 1949 to sign the draft of the Constitution. The Cabinet Mission suggested that there should be a Constituent Assembly for drafting a Constitution for India. And it demanded the inclusion of only 3 categories of people. This 3 category includes the general category, the Muslims and the Sikhs. But the contest leaders insisted that the Constituent Assembly should represent people from all walks of life, from all sections of the society. Thus, it had the members of Anglo-Indians, Christians, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, then general category, Muslims and Sikhs. This inclusion shows the far-sightedness of the Congress. The Cabinet Mission, which is suggested about the creation of a Constituent Assembly, did not compel or did not suggest that the Assembly should include all these groups of people. Instead, it demanded that the Assembly should consist of only 3 groups of people. That is, the general category, the Muslims and the Hindus. Whereas Congress insisted that the Constituent Assembly should include the representatives of all the people living in India. Thus, we can say that the Constituent Assembly was a miniature India. Anglo-Indians were represented by Mr. Frank Anthony and S.H. Pratt. Christians were represented by H.C. Mukherjee and Joseph D'Souza. H.P. Modi represented the Parsis. Though the Muslim League had boycotted the Constituent Assembly, still there were 2 Muslim members. They were Zafar Imam and Muhammad Sadaullah. The Sikhs were represented by Hukum Singh and Ujjwal Singh. These all show that the Constituent Assembly was truly Indian in nature. That means it gave a proper representation to all the people living in India. On December 13, 1946, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru put forward the objectives of the Indian Constitution. These objectives include: free India will be nothing but a republic. The ideals of social, political and economic democracy would be guaranteed to all people living in India. The republic would grant fundamental rights to its citizens. The state would safeguard the rights of minorities living in India. These 4 points are called the Objective Resolution. It was passed by the Constituent Assembly on January 22, 1947. We know the Constituent Assembly had 299 members after the withdrawal of the Muslim League members. These 299 members were divided into different groups. The drafting committee was one of the most important group or committee among the members of the Constituent Assembly. The responsibility of making the Constitution was given to the Constitution Drafting Committee. It was headed by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. So we call Dr. B.R. Ambedkar as the architect of Indian Constitution. Don't think that the entire Constitution was written by Dr. Ambedkar all alone. No, he was the head of the Constitution Drafting Committee. This Constitution Drafting Committee was given the responsibility of making or drafting the Constitution. So we call Dr. Ambedkar as the architect of Indian Constitution. The drafting committee met many times. They consulted the constitutions of different countries of the world, and finally a draft of the Indian Constitution was made. This draft was discussed in the Constituent Assembly clause by clause. After thorough discussion, the members suggested many changes, and those changes were included in the draft, and a second reading of the draft was held on October 17, 1949. It was followed by the third and the final reading on November 26, 1949. On this day, the Constituent Assembly officially accepted the Constitution of India. It took nearly 3 years for the Constituent Assembly to compile the Constitution of India. On November 26, the Constituent Assembly approved the Constitution. Still, the makers of the Constitution waited for 2 more months, and on January 26, 1950, the Constitution was officially came into being. Ever since, we celebrate that day as the Republic Day of India. There was a reason for choosing this very particular date for the implementation of the Constitution. From 1930 onwards, January 26 had been celebrating as the Independence Day of India. When we got the real independence on August 15, 1947, the celebration on January 26 became irrelevant. So, in order to continue the historical importance of January 26, the makers of the Constitution chose this very particular date for the implementation of the Constitution. Thus, we celebrate January 26 as the Republic Day. Already we have seen that it took nearly 3 years for the completion of the Constitution. At the time of its signing, it consisted of 395 articles and 8 schedules. From its inception, the Constitution had amended many times. Though we say that Indian Constitution is a rigid Constitution, we amended it, we changed it many times. So far, we studied the formation of Indian Constitution. We have seen about the formation of the Constituent Assembly. We have seen the withdrawal of Muslim League members from the Assembly. We learned the election of the chairman of the Constituent Assembly. Then we discussed the formation of drafting committee. We have studied the objective resolutions, and we learned why the constitution was implemented on January 26. I hope these points are clear to you. If you have any doubt on any topic which was discussed today, you are free to contact me through the CSoft app. It's enough for today. Take care. Thank you.